Good morning, Africa. Good morning, South Sudan. Welcome to African Morning Breakfast Show, coming to you live right here on SLBC from our studio in South Sudan, capital Juba. My name is Majur Cholkor, and today is a brand new day as we continue to bring to you economicals, politicals, and social issues that matters to you. In these editions of African Morning Breakfast Show, we're going to explore more about federalism in the Republic of South Sudan. And joining me in these editions are great prominent leaders in the Republic of South Sudan. This is none other than the Honorable Minister of Federal Affairs, Losuba Loduru Wongo, and not forgetting Kelman Pilimon Beime, the Undersecretary of the Ministry of Federal Affairs of the Republic of South Sudan. We'll find out more about federalism and why the Ministry of Federal Affairs is existing in the Republic of South Sudan. And after here, allow me to say it, Honorable Minister and Kelman, I'm profoundly honored and exceedingly humbled to have this great opportunity to host you in African Morning Breakfast Show. Good morning and welcome.
Yeah, good morning, Major.
Thank you so much. Kelman,
good morning. We are privileged to be hosted by you this morning. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And before we start our discussion, it is a tradition in Africa and in South Sudan. So when you wake up in the morning, you have to say it hello to your neighbors, and even within your family, say it hello to your friends, your relatives, and all this. So this is a part of our tradition also in African Morning Breakfast Show. I can start with you, Clement, your word of greeting to your workmates, your friends, people that are viewing this program.
Thank you, SSBC, the African Morning Breakfast Show. Program this morning, we would like to extend greetings to all the colleagues, all the undersecretaries and the classmates within the ministry, especially my minister, Honorable Losuba Lodoro Wango, who is with me here. Yeah. And we are happy to be hosted by you.
Thank you.
And we greet everybody, all the Sudanese, those who are watching, we greet you. And we are privileged to be here to explain why we are here, why the ministry is existing, and what are the differences between and the previous system.
Thank you so much, Clement. Honorable?
Yeah, thank you, Major. I'm very grateful and privileged actually to be today on this morning show, which is very significant and very important for the people of South Sudan. I wanted to appreciate and thank general, the public, and the people of South Sudan for attending to this debate. As a Minister of Federal Affairs, I feel actually privileged that today I have this important opportunity to share with the public and you, my friend, about the ministry's existence and role and how we wanted to meet and fulfill the dreams of the people of South Sudan to establish a system that necessitate and facilitate.
We'll come to that. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
I like that. And thank you so much, dear viewer. Thank you for following African Morning Breakfast Show. Let's have a short break. We'll be right back shortly. Welcome back, dear viewer. Thank you so much for following African Morning Breakfast Show online and offline. Wherever you're watching us, we're coming to you live right here from our studio in South Sudan, capital, Juba. And if you're watching wherever you are on our social media platform, that's SSBC TV, you can like, comment, and share. And right here in the editions of African Morning Breakfast Show with me is Honorable Minister of Federal Affairs, Losuba Loduru Wongo, and Honorable Kelman Pilimon Beime, the Undersecretary of the Ministry of Federal Affairs. Honorable Minister and Honorable Undersecretary, welcome back.
Thank you.
Now, we want to go direct to our discussions. As Ministry of Federal Affairs, before we get to know why it was established, let's understand the word federalism here. What does it mean, Honorable Minister?
Yeah, thank you, Major. This is a word which always get some misinterpretation in terms of its definition and all that. But it's simply a word that describes a system of government whereby constitutional powers are divided between different levels of government, so that every constituent unit of a government has specific roles and responsibilities and resources apportioned to it, with all its responsibilities in order to function effectively. So basically, that is what we're talking about, the federal system of government. Now, the word itself was coined from an early age, whereby earlier there are different systems of government. We have a unitary system, and we have a decentralized system, and then we have a federal system of government, whereby powers are devolved to the lower levels of government. So basically, this is the real understanding of the word.
Okay. Honorable Under Secretary, do you differ with the Honorable Minister?
No, we cannot differ. We work in the same place. It is actually a scientific explanation, and which the Honorable Minister have said, which is actually the devolution of powers from the central government to the different levels of government, like the state and the local government. It is actually a system. Now, when we talk of federalism, we talk about a system, not people, because this is what sometimes people don't understand, and they always try to coin it in a different way. Federalism is about a system of government, which is actually a constitutionalized system.
So, if we are looking at African countries, which South Sudan is part of the African community, which African countries are federal countries?
Africa has gone through a long, extensive experiences in terms of governance systems. You realize that at least countries like Nigeria and Ethiopia has exhibited specific federal system of government, and they pronounce it very clearly that they are federal in a sense. Then we have countries that are more or less in between, more decentralized, and then more with some federal elements. Like when you talk of South Africa, they are decentralized, but then they're moving towards the direction of federating the country. So you realize that there are countries also like Kenya, which is our neighbor here. They've been more centralized, and then now they're moving towards this level of federation. But then they don't call it federal system of government; they call it devolution system. So basically, when you talk about federal system, the system means devolving powers, the lower levels constituent units. So some people have, because of historical reasons, fear the word federal. So, depending where you come from, whether American or British and all that, some people don't want the word, but then the activity, the system, they adapt, explain to you what actually it is. So, like when you talk about Kenya. Yeah.
If people are fearing the word federalism, there is an option, like an opposite word that can be used apart from federalism?
Yeah, exactly. That's why I'm bringing the example of Kenya. Kenya, instead of using other words, they created their own, calling it a devolution of power and all that. Okay. So, but of course, it's a definition of federal system of government. So, but then in general, what is important is how powers, the political powers, political arrangements, and then political organization of power, and then resources management, and as well as administrative powers are organized in such a way that you have the national level, what we call the federal level, and then the state level, and the lower levels of government. How do you divide that clearly in the Constitution? I think that is the element that people want to know.
Thank you so much, Honorable Minister. Honorable Undersecretary, now we want to come to the existence of the Ministry of Federal Affairs of the Republic of South Sudan. What established the ministry, and how did it come about?
Well, thank you very much. The existence of the Ministry of Federal Affairs started all the way from 2016, after the agreement on the resolution on the conflict in South Sudan, 2015. Then after that, the ministry was established So, but then when it was established, a lot of work need to be done. So again, after the agreement, the revitalized agreement, 2018, it reinforced the ministry to go ahead to plan and draft all the necessary legal documents, legal papers, like the policy framework, like the strategic plan, so that it is passed and put the ministry in the right position to execute and implement what it is required of as per the agreement. So that is how the ministry started to exist.
So what were the main objective of establishing this ministry?
Actually, the ministry was established actually to conduct research, to see the different types of federalism and make research to other countries in Africa and even in the region or in Europe, so that we compare and also come up with a blueprint that will help to guide the implementation. The ministry is actually tasked to design a way how federalism should be implemented in the country. The federalization process is to be conducted by the ministry, which actually we have started, and we have also made different functions like workshops, symposiums to the stakeholders, and we visit some states. And also we recently had this visit study tour to Nigeria and South Africa. And then that is actually the function, the purpose of the existence of the ministry, so that at the end of the day, it has to bring all the analysis from the research and present to the people in a conference, so that we adopt the type of federalism that we deem necessary for this country.
Well, I will come to that question later, but let me come to Honorable Minister. Based on what Honorable Undersecretary has just mentioned, when you assume the office as the Minister of Federal Affairs, what have you seen that needs, and what have you done so far at your capacity as a minister, as for the objective and of the establishment of the Ministry of Federal Affairs?
Yeah, well, you know, the ministry was established based on the Articles of Agreement, which was signed in 2015, and he reinforced, as the Secretary said, in 2018 with the revitalized agreement. When I came in, I found out there were basic structure set already in the ministry, and some few consultative activities like workshops and conferences were also conducted. And then also there were some visits outside the country. And then what we did was to come and reinforce what was already done, but then to ensure that the prime objective is to ensure that the country is transitioned from the current decentralization system of government to a fully fledged federal system. And this has been the dream of the people of South Sudan for quite a long time. So I started by focusing on trying to educate the people, different levels, the youth. We have a couple of workshops on that with the youth. We also had a conversation with the media-friendly fraternity. We had some training on that, so that they understand, so that they understand the concept of federalism, and then how they can relate to the people, so that it's not misconstrued and misunderstood. So we did that, and then I also conducted a number of symposiums and all that. But then the focus is that we needed to actually work on the fulfilling the objective of the ministry, and one critical thing is to develop a policy of the ministry that gives direction to the ministry in terms of achieving the federal system of government that is expected in South Sudan. So that's what basically we've been working on, and it has been a lot of challenge because the ministry is a new ministry and not well established, because in terms of the challenges that is faced in terms of funding even. So we relied mostly on our development agencies. They help us here and there, and of course, they have their own objectives as well and the reasons. So it took us some time to do that, but we worked towards, and at least we're able to achieve developing the strategic policy of the ministry, what they call the federal policy, and then also as a strategic plan for the ministry. So, and then that will give us now at least an easy way to come with a federal structure, federal arrangement. And that's what we're going to develop in the blueprint, which we're going to present to the people of South Sudan, and it will be the one that will help and guide the constitutional making process.
Yes, Honorable, you just stated that federal system of government is what the people of South Sudan has been yearning for. Quoting from your words, what do you think are the benefits of a federal system? For example, if South Sudan become part of the federal system of government, what will the people of South Sudan benefit out of that?
There are many benefits. Actually, one challenge that the country, South Sudan, face, and many, of course, countries and all that, and the Sudan by then, is over-concentration of power and resources in the center. And that has been the big challenge, because you realize that the effect of that is the high rural-urban migration. So always you find everybody from the villages will be dreaming to only come to the city and then get service in the city. But now, with the federalization, you're actually taking these services to the villages, and that's why the concept which our founder, Dr. John Garang, before he died, he actually mentioned that very clear, that when we liberate this country, we need to take towns to the villages other than bringing towns to the villages to the town. So that is one of the critical benefits that the people of South Sudan are going to realize. You will not be, will actually reduce a number of crimes in cities, for example, because people come to the cities without basic skills that you can be able to survive in, and as a result they get into negative social challenges, theft and all that, and a number of things. So for them to survive, of course, you cannot blame them, because when they come here, they have to survive. So that's also a challenge, and it brings insecurity and all that. But then with the federal system of government, when resources and powers are devolved to states and then to the local levels of government, you realize that people who can be able to get the services they need. I was always saying that, for example, someone from Raja, or somebody from a village of Morobo, for example, the county, will be struggling to come to Juba to get a nationality ID card. And a national ID card here costs around, I don't know, how much is it, the cost? It's very small money. But then the transport, 6,000. So the person who traveled from Raja to come and get his nationality in the city here, pays a lot of money and a lot of challenges as well. But then with the system that we actually wanted and the people have been dreaming about, is that we needed these services to go closer to the people, closer to people.
Thank you so much, Honorable. Before we go for a break, I want to bring the mind of Under Secretary Clement in this discussion on why it is very important, what will be the benefit of a federal system of government if it is adopted by South Sudanese.
Thank you, Brother Major. At this moment, I would like to inform us, the people and the public. The benefit of the federal government in the country is manifold. In the first place, the developmental programs. It will be actually at different levels. Not everything will be in the center. As mentioned by Honorable Minister, services will get closer to the people. And the problem that we are struggling with is now to change the mindset, because we must ensure that there is no negative conceptualization of federalism. We must have a positive conceptualization of federalism. Federalism is a system, as I said earlier. It is not about people. It is a system of government. And the benefit that the government will be run by the people of different levels wherever they are. And this one is in line with what the Honorable Minister said, is to honor even the dream of our hero, when he said we take the town to the people, to the rural area. So itself means getting a service closer. And by the way, there is one thing that even our existing system now, it is more or less like federal. The only difference is that it is not been constitutionalized, and also the devolution of physical federalism is not there. That's why. Otherwise, even our system could be federal. So this is actually the benefit, that people will get a service closer to them, and the people will also be part in a consultation, in doing the developmental plans, in even planning for what activity they want to do. They will be part of also budgeting their activities within their limit and having enough resources for them within their limit, so that they are able to do and accountable to the people of that particular level of government, being it a state or a local government.
Honorable Under Secretary, you did mention before that the ministry was established for the sake of research and informing the people of South Sudan about the importance of the federal system. In your research, I believe maybe you have come across some negative perception, but we don't want to talk much about the negative perception of South Sudanese. But I want you to react to one thing from some South Sudanese, that a federal system of government is likely to divide people. This is what people think. Like maybe now, if it is, say, 3 regions, Greater Bahr Ghazal, Greater Upper Nile, Greater Equatoria, are going to rule themselves, then now it will divide people. What do you say? Do you think it is right?
Well, it is not right. It is what I say, that it is because of the type of conception that we take. You know, the reason why I'm saying this, because this thing is connected to Kokora. And then Kokora was about a system which was taking people to think about people. And it was decreed by president, not people decided. But this one is about a system. Federalism is about a system which will devolve powers to the levels of government, like the state government and the local government. And in this system, all the South Sudanese have the right to stay where they want to stay. For me, I can decide to go and stay in Raja or in Upper Nile. I'm a South Sudanese. But the government and the people running the government have to, the powers have to be devolved to them, and even financially, so that they are able to decide on what activities they are supposed to do within their limit, not to wait for everything to come from the capital. That is the benefit of federalism here. And then,
so what is Kokora, Honorable Under Secretary?
Well, the redivision, you know, that one was a redivision, and it was not federalism. Previously, in 1982, there was a redivision which was decreed by President Nimeri, redividing the South Sudan into 3 regions. That was Equatoria, Bahr Ghazal, and Upper Nile. And then it brought a lot of wrong conception and a different wrong mindset. But this one is about a system, not about the people. Everybody has the right to stay where they want to stay. But it is only the system of government, how it is to be conducted, its affairs, how it is to carry out its developmental activities, is to be actually devolved. Powers have to be devolved, both administratively and also financially.
Honorable, not to oppose your idea, but you say it is about a system.
Yes.
And is not about the people. What is the difference between the people and the system?
Well, when I talk about the people, I talk about the citizen of the country. I talk about the citizen of the country. Every citizen has the right to stay where they are. But when I'm talking about the system of government, we are coming about the government institutions, where powers are to be devolved to the different levels of government, so that they can carry out their activities the way they want.
Honorable, I see.
Yeah, I wanted to just add on something here. One is the conception that the federal system will help in disintegrating the country. In our policy, we made it very clear, and we actually we brought that very clear, that when you look back into history, The reason why actually Sudan separated separated into two is because of the call that the people of South Sudan have been requesting actually from the 1940s, 1950s. They say they wanted a system of government that devolved powers to the lower level of government so that we can be able to develop. We cannot only depend from Khartoum. So the politicians in Khartoum who loved power so much and wanted to concentrate all the resources of the country in Khartoum did not adhere to that. And they've always said, no, you don't want a system. Yeah, we can be able to accept something like maybe decentralization, but decentralization, which was really still centralized, unitary system. So because of that, you find that people started to resist the system. As a result, the people of South Sudan started fighting before even the independence of the Sudan in 1956, and until we separated this country. Now, what we are saying is what the people of South Sudan had been standing for, because in the beginning, they said they wanted a federal system of government. And then now that we have got now the country as our own, we wanted this implementation of the system so that we realize rapid development from our rural areas and all that, at least to the national level, and everybody should be able to benefit from this country. Now, I think the challenge here has been there are individuals, actually people who say, the federal system is going to divide the country. These are people who have benefited so much from the centralized controlling resources of the country by themselves. So they do not want to let it out. So that is these are the people who always will go with that. Oh, this is going to divide the country. Federal system does not divide the country. Actually, it helps unite the country. Because everybody believes that we are South Sudanese, but then we are doing each we are doing all our functions based on different units that you are in to contribute to the national interest of the country.
Thank you so much, Honorable Minister and Honorable Undersecretary. We'll come back for more reaction, and thank you so much. This one is quite interesting. And to our viewers, thank you so much for following African Morning Breakfast Show right here on SSBC. We're coming to you live from our studio in South Sudan capital, Juba. If you're following us online on our SSBC page, that is SSBC TV, like, comment, and share, and we'll find out what is your reaction on this discussion of African Morning Breakfast Show. For me and my colleague, we go for a break, and we'll be right back. Welcome back, dear viewer. Thank you so much for continuing following African Morning Breakfast Show right here on SABC. We are talking about federalism and the Ministry of Federal Affairs, achievement and the plans of the ministry, and why it's important for South Sudanese to know and adopt the federal system of government. And helping us right here is Honorable Minister of Federal Affairs, Losuba Loduru Wongo, and not forgetting Clement Pelimont Beme, the Undersecretary of the Ministry of Federal Affairs. Honorable Minister and Undersecretary, welcome back.
Thank you.
Yeah, we understand you stated that the ministry was established as defer the demand of the agreement. The peace agreement of 2015 revitalized to 2018 peace agreement, and now the revitalized peace agreement timeframes has elapsed, and people now started the roadmap of the 24-month of the peace agreement, in which is very important for people of South Sudan to know out of the plans and the establishment of the peace agreement. We understand that earlier this week you had a presentation to the Council of Ministers, and what was it all about, and why should people know about what you presented to the Council of Ministers? Honorable Minister.
Yeah, thank you for bringing that. Well, the ministry, as you said, has this enormous task. This is one of the ministries which is very critical, very important in as far as the revitalized agreement is concerned. Many people may not know that, but it's critical because it's addressing the crucial governance issue of this country. So while sometimes people see us a small ministry and with the challenges and all that, but that is what I wanted to tell the people. I made a presentation to the Council of Ministers last Wednesday. It was basically presenting to the Council of Ministers the federal policy of the ministry and the direction that the ministry wanted to push towards the federalization process. And in the policy, we stated clearly that, you know, this is a dream of the people of South Sudan that need to be realized in the permanent constitution. And we also said there are challenges that the ministry is going through, but then there are also opportunities that we also have. However, the most important thing is that this federal system is not the responsibility only of the Ministry of Federal Affairs, but the Ministry of Federal Affairs is a coordinating body in terms of the overall objective of the process of federalization. So we stated clearly how the presidency, under, of course, our President Salva Kiir Mayardit, who will be the lead in terms of giving advice, strategic direction for the for this policy implementation and how to achieve the federal system. And then the ministry, led by of course, I'm the leader of that, will coordinate with different institutions and the ministries as well, in terms of how we can be able to realize the federal structure that we wanted to see in the constitution. So, and then we also stated activities in what we call the strategic plan of the ministry within this period. How are we going to implement that? So, and then we stated actually in the strategic plan, we stated activities that are very crucial and very important, and then we quantified them. We quantified them in terms of monetary line, so that we know how much can be able to be used in order to realize that. So basically, we were happy. I'm very happy with the council. They were able to go through the documents, the two documents, very critically, and they were able to pass it. And they said we are now ready to go and implement what we stated.
Okay, Honorable Under Secretary, maybe anything to add about that? And previously, you were about to react to what we were talking about, but your reaction to the draft policy presented to the Council of Ministers.
Well, we are very happy of the passing of the two documents by the Honorable Council of Ministers, the Federal Policy Framework and then the Strategic Plan 2022-2025. Now we have all the legal right now to implement what we have put down to guide us in the federalization process. The question of what mandate do you have to do this is no longer there. You have been empowered. We have been already allowed that let us go ahead with the work. Ours is only to guide and to enable people to understand what is federalism. And then the concept that some people have, I would like to say one thing. If you have 100 people and you are given a food ratio to distribute, it will take you sometimes to reach the number, the last person, number 100. But if you decide to do another system by grouping the 100 into 10, 10, 10, and each leader, you give the food ratio to distribute, it will be in a short time. This is actually what we mean by federalism. Instead of having only one center here to control everything in the country, now the powers will be devolved, financial powers will be devolved, and every state will be now doing according to the constitution in collaboration with the national government, and in a short time. It will not take long. So now our duty after the policy framework and the strategic plan is passed now. So we are to actually continue disseminating federalization process in collaboration with some of the government institutions. We have with institutions in which we are in the cluster with them in the governance cluster. We have people very important to us, some stakeholders. They are to join us. We as a ministry are only to coordinate and give a guideline of how federalization process should take place, so that at the end, all what we will come with have to be presented to the constitutional making body, so that it is enshrined in our constitution. That is actually what we are supposed to do, and then we will be very grateful when other constitution government institutions are with us, and we are able to do it in a short time. As you said earlier, as you said it clearly, that this roadmap, this period now, it is very short, and for us also, what is left is straightforward for us to do. Only that we need support from other institutions, especially the Minister of Finance, the Minister of Justice, and others. In terms of resources, the resources needed for us to do this, if it is availed, other things we will be doing it in time, and then from there we will come and present.
Thank you so much, Honorable Clement and Honorable Minister. People of South Sudan want to find out from you and your ministry, as people are looking forward for general elections in December 2024, what are your expectations as the Ministry of Federal Affairs? Do you think that South Sudanese can go for general elections without knowing what is the system of government that is going to govern them? And do your ministry have a role to play to ensure that South Sudanese know they're going for general election and they know what is the system of governance that is ruling the country?
Basically, no, the people of South Sudan cannot go for election without a federal constitution. We actually need a federal constitution. And that's what the agreement says very clear, that we are going to have a permanent constitution. That permanent constitution will be a federal constitution.
Is federal constitution part of permanent constitution? What is the difference?
Yeah, the difference is clear, because we needed actually the permanent constitution. The permanent constitution actually must be federal. So we are not going to have a decentralized constitution, which recognizes decentralization and all that. So it has to recognize a federal system of government in that, because the constitution actually is about stating the principles that all the people of the country agree on to live together, and how to complement each other. So then the second thing in the constitution is actually the system of government that you needed to rule yourself with. So we have agreed, basically, it's not something that I invented it, but it's already in the agreement very clear that we are going to have a federal constitution. So that's why the ministry was created. So it's a huge task, as I said, for the ministry to ensure that actually we have a federal constitution. So what we're trying to do is to try to work out what are the principles that are very key and critical in as far as our constitution will entail in reference to a federal system of government. And then we'll try to look into all these details and all that. And as I said, we wanted to do that through developing a blueprint that defines specifically these roles and all that. And then we'll see also in the process to see what are the things that are needed in the constitution, and then others also not everything of federal system will be in the constitution. So this has to be very clear to everybody. Not everything of a federal system, but then will be the key principles that will be in the constitution, and then it will relate to bills, to acts that will be developed in the process. That's why the Ministry of Justice is very critical in that. So, and then, like, for example, the Financial Allocation Commission, for example, you need that so that it states clearly what are the allocation procedures and then percentages in different levels of government and all that, so that everybody adheres to that. So it will not be an individual or one person dictating, but then it will be basically what the constitution, what the rule of the law says. So that is the idea. So I think the people, and you know the reason why the extension, the roadmap was actually agreed upon was because the constitution, we were not able to develop the constitution before the end of the transitional period. So we realized that we needed at least 24 months to complete the constitution. And the constitution process, of course, is commencing soon when the institutions are formed. And they are going to make consultations from the people, to know the views of the people in regards to the critical elements of the constitution. And as I said, one of it is how do we put the federal system in the constitution. So that's the role that we're going to play very importantly. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Honorable Minister and Honorable Undersecretary, for making it to African Morning Breakfast Show. Just 2 to 3 ideas before we wind up this discussion. Let's find out whether there are merit or demerit, disadvantages and advantages of having a federal system. We understand even in your own house, your house sometimes can have disadvantages if it is iron house or a grass kind of house. So a system of federal system might be good, but there might be maybe disadvantages. If South Sudanese are going to decide upon and accept federal system of government, what are the merit and demerit, especially the demerit part of federal system, that they can look into that challenges and see how to rectify them and go forward for federal system? Honorable Undersecretary.
Thank you. For federal system, we have talked about the advantage, the merit. I will not repeat it. We have talked a lot about it. The demerits or the disadvantage come in when there is no capacity building. We have learned from our study tour, especially when we were in South Africa. In the federalization process, there is need for enough resource that will enable us also to carry out capacity training in all levels of the government. People must understand what is federalism, and the people involved in the government institutions to implement the federal must also be trained. If we fail to train people, that is the worst. The federalization will be misunderstood, and things will not be very good, and even people will fail to manage the way it is supposed to be. That it will be actually a disaster. So in order to correct this, in the process of in the federalization process, now while we are conducting some workshops and the training workshops here in the capital, there is need for us also to get enough resource so that we also start conducting training programs about the federalization process in various states. We have 10 states, but for the central, where the capital is, it is okay. But in the rest of the 9, we needed to really conduct training. And also, as the Honorable Minister said, once the federalism is done and it is enshrined in the Constitution, of course in the Constitution it has to be there as one of the articles, which is a guiding principle. And then from there we will be able now to have people who will make some follow-ups to see that the implementation goes very well. Again, within the country, as we talk now, we want people also to be ambassadors, those who understand what is federalism, to be ambassadors to also disseminate to those who don't understand. As I said earlier, that it is about a system. So that is actually the most important part of it.
Thank you.
That we want to do.
Thank you so much, Honorable Under Secretary and Honorable Minister. You can add to that, and I want you also to say it, because we are through one of the discussion. What support do your ministry need from the top leadership, in which you're part of the top leadership, but from the presidency coming down, what support do you need for you to carry out your activities, and what may be disadvantages of a federal system? I think you want to add on that.
Yeah, thank you, Major. I think let me start from what actually is some of the advantages that people fear. One among many, the most important challenge that people have about federalization is the issue of possible disintegration that people talk about. Yeah, there's a fear that, once we federalize the country and then people disintegrate. The reality is not. It is actually the opposite. What happened is that there will be the central government, which is the federal government, which will hold the national security. We will be in charge of the national security of the country, in terms of defense of the country, and then in terms of articulating the principal values of the state, the whole country, and to defend the country in terms of any invasion and all that. And also we shall have one foreign policy, and then ensure that we have one specific economic policy and all that guide the country. Those are critical, and those actually are very critical for the federal government. And then the implementation of this and the ensuring that services reach to the lower levels or to the people is the responsibilities of the states. So that is basically the whole federal arrangement, so that the states and the local government actually do the implementation, while the national government do the development of strategic policies that guide the country, in its relationship with the other friendly countries and all that. Now, the second thing is the issue of the fear that states are not having enough capacity in order to exist. But then it's not really to that extent, because the capacity development is a process. It cannot be overnight. So it's a process. So that fear, people should just relinquish that. Because the states will continue to develop their capacities, and then there is, like in our policy, we made very clear that there's the principle of complementarity, and then there's also the principle of cooperation, that all different levels of government cooperate together, and then they complement each other. So those, that was very important in that to help the issue of capacity, and also fear of as other states saying, they don't have resources while others have more resources and all that. So the issue of complementarity will help that, because even the central government will be able to stabilize some of the states that may not have some enough resources. The central government has the responsibility to do that, to help. Now, coming to the leadership as in the cabinet, of course, I really appreciate my colleagues in the cabinet, honorable members, and also honorable ministers. Also, the vice presidents have been very great in supporting this, and the president of the republic has been very consistent. The first time I met him, he was very clearly in support, and said he support what we are doing, and he wanted peace in this country. He wanted to see that there's peace and stability in this country. So if the federal system can be able to reach service to the people, that is what he wanted to see for the people of South Sudan. So we actually wanted that kind of spirit to continue. The spirit that we saw in the cabinet last Wednesday was great, and we wanted it to continue. We wanted to work jointly together to make sure that the people of South Sudan see that the federal system of government is actually a system that enables easy facilitation of services to our lower levels of government and to the people.
Thank you so much, Honorable Minister, and thank you, Honorable Under Secretary, for coming to African Morning Breakfast Show.
Thank you.
In just 30 seconds, your message to South Sudanese. Make it brief, because we are out of time, and then we finalize the discussion.
African Morning Breakfast Show, thanks for hosting us this morning. I would like to tell the public that we are here only to to disseminate the federalization process in the country. And we are very happy that we are here to clear some doubts within the public what about federalism, and we are there to see to it that it is a kind of a participatory system where people will be participating in deciding of their own affairs in their different levels of the government, and with the actually control from the national government in terms of defense, as said by Minister, and the finance, economic policy, and other security issues. So federalism is actually to help us so that powers are devolved to the government, the institution of the government, where people also will be able to choose their leaders, those who they want by election, the governors and the rest, because this is what the federalism will require, and the governors will be answerable to their people in different levels of the government. Actually, this is why we are here to explain, and this is what people have been yearning for. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Honorable Under Secretary. I always have this question at the end of my show, and I found, because I like Africa, I like South Sudan, my country. So what do you think, if you like African Morning Breakfast Show, what do you think will make Africa great and South Sudan? Just in 1 minute, in 30 seconds, in 20 seconds even.
Well, thank you very much. For us, actually, I'm very happy with this African Morning Breakfast Show, and we really need South Sudan to be part of this great region, and we want South Sudan to exist so that people know that South Sudan is a country where there is a good governance, and that respect the value of human being, and they also allow a democratic type of exchange of ideas, and they love their people to see that the people have free interactions to decide on what they want to do, on how they want the country to be developed, and a participatory type of system. That is what I would like South Sudan to be, so that South Sudan looks also a civilized nation that competes with other states in the region. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Honorable Minister, do you like African Morning Breakfast Show of SBC, and what do you think will make Africa and South Sudan great again?
It's really very lovely. I'm really thankful that you were able to host us, and me in particular. I wanted to say this. My dream is that South Sudan establish a federal system of government that will be replicated in the whole of Africa, and I'll be happy. My happiest time will be when we shall not be having any borders in Africa, and we shall have only one passport in Africa, whereby every African can move from north to south and east to west without these restrictions of borders and all that. And it will be within the system that we are advocating, so that we realize the unity of the people of Africa.
Thank you so much, Honorable Minister and Honorable Under Secretary. To our viewer, thank you so much for following African Morning Breakfast Show online and offline, wherever you're watching us. We do appreciate your company, and in this edition of African Morning Breakfast Show, we explore more about federalism and the plans and achievement and of the Ministry of Federal Affairs of the Republic of South Sudan. And it has been my honor to have the Honorable Minister of Federal Affairs of the Republic of South Sudan, Honorable Losuba Loduru Wongo, and the Under Secretary of the Ministry of Federal Affairs, Honorable Clement Pelimont Beime, for coming to this African Morning Breakfast Show. For me and my colleague, the technical team, we say thank you so much, Honorable Minister and Honorable Under Secretary, for coming to African Morning Breakfast Show. We look forward to having you next time. Thank you so much for coming.
Yes, good. Thank you so much.
We are privileged to be hosted by you. Right.
Yeah.